Welcome back to the Crucible Calls, the 4th Battalion podcast. I'm one of your co-hosts, Cadet Hominick,
And I'm the second co-host, Cadet Artillery Corporal Brown.
and today we are here with 3 freshmen from each of the different companies here in 4th Battalion to talk about their experiences with Red Phase, Caldwell, what it's been like being a freshman in general here in the Corps of Cadets, and more frankly and more precisely, here in 4th Battalion as well.
All right, and now to start off our first question, we'll start off with Cadet Lising. Is going to go ahead and introduce himself, tell us his ROTC, and tell us his company. So the first question is going to be, what was your favorite time/moment during Red Phase, and how about Caldwell too?
Yes, my name is Cadet Lising. I'm in 027. I'm majoring in philosophy, politics, and economics, and I'm NROTC Marine option. My favorite part during Red Phase, I think, would be the company athletics, because in such a locked on environment, like all the time, you're locked on all the time. Company athletics is like one of those like times when it's a little more locked off. You gotta talk to you gotta interact with the upperclassmen a little more and with your buds, and then you gotta meet other people throughout the regiment. So that's definitely, and being on Wednesday, a midweek, it's a good morale boost. And then Caldwell, 13 miles. It was fun. It was a beautiful view, but I think my favorite part of it was just the meaning behind it. Like you got through something. It was a good like turning point, a good like sign that you did something this school year.
Yeah, definitely. Me and Cadet Hominick can both probably tell you about our Caldwells, but we're not here to talk about ours. We're here to talk
That's
about
when you
definitely a very
turn right
good
there.
experience. Yeah.
And then you'll know about our experience and our Caldwell.
Yeah. Yep. Now on to the Cadet Norsky.
Hi, I'm Cadet Norsky. I'm from November Company N27. I'm an Army ROTC and I'm a political science major. I'd say my favorite part of Red Phase would be how close I grew with my fellow buds and how close we got as a TC over the period of Red Phase. When you go through something like Red Phase, it kind of bonds you together. You rely on each other to get through something like that. And we're on the smaller side of a TC, so getting to know each and every one of them and getting to get closer with them and learning how to work together as a team and rely on each other really has been my favorite part. As for Caldwell, I would have to say, I'd say the jobs they gave out. We had some pretty crazy jobs. I was a cloud interpreter, so I would just say what the clouds are saying. We had a guy who would collect leaves or try and keep them from falling, and if they hit the ground, we'd all have to sing taps. So it was a lot of random wacky things that we got to do, which made the 10 miles seem a little less hard. And we also got to know our cadre as well as just get to know the people around us and our battalion staff. So that was pretty cool for me.
Yeah, definitely. That's what Caldwell's about, is getting to know your buds. And Red Phase, like, just put you through hardships to really like get to know your buds and learn how to work together as a team. On to Cadet Tincher.
Hey, so I'm Cadet Tincher. I'm in a Band 27. I'm Army ROTC. Probably my favorite part about the Red Phase was football games. I really liked being able to perform with the band. That was a lot of fun. Very relaxed environment during that time. I believe we probably had more fun than most of the companies for that. My two buds in here may say otherwise, but Caldwell was a lot of fun too. It was a call for fire at. I was having to call for fire on anything moving. If we found a tractor, we had to call in for enemy armor, and it was something a little bit heavier to soften them up. But other than that, I really like Army RTC. It's a pretty locked off atmosphere. A lot of good learning opportunities there.
Definitely, yeah. All right, Cadet Hominick, do you have another question?
I do, as a matter of fact. So,
Awesome.
having completed Red Phase, I always have questions. You know this,
Oh
Jim.
yeah, I know.
Having completed Red Phase, though, trying to think about it from the perspective of, and you're going to start seeing this as well as towards spring semester, you're going to have people who start to tour Virginia Tech, and they're going to see you guys out and about in uniform with their kids, and they're going to come up to you and be like, what is this? What are you doing? Or if they know about the Corps, they may start asking you about it. So with as much honesty as possible, having gone through red phase now, for each of you, what would be the best piece of advice you would give a prospective cadet or incoming freshman to help them through this first chapter? And we can start, anyone can start with that if they want. If they have something, just start talking.
I mean, I think the best advice I could give a prospective cadet would be have confidence, know your why, and accept failure. There's two types of failure. There's unproductive failure and there's productive failure. And, I came here not having a lot of confidence in what I say or do. And I think through like the process of learning to sound off, learning to be confident in what I say, even if it's like wrong, it's failing at 100 miles an hour, and just learning to see the small details and having those growing moments. So now I can actually confidently back up what I'm going to say or back up whatever it is. The other thing is just knowing your why when you're going through it, especially with Red Phase, New Cadet Week. You're up a lot, you're marching around, there's people yelling at you, and you just got to learn to stay calm and remember why you're here, why you want to do this, what's putting you through this program, and just kind of having that in view and insight throughout the whole process, and it makes it a lot more manageable. And yeah, I think that's some of the biggest advice that I could give to someone.
And I'll just sort of add on to what you said there. What you just said typically is what I'll tell someone as well. And you guys will learn this when winter semester comes to a close. We'll do something called hometown recruiting, which is, I believe, required for all freshmen, and for band, it's definitely required all 4 years. But when I went back to my high school and I needed to talk about what it was like to be 1 in the band and 2 in the Corps, one of the things I would tell people is you need to learn to fail big, because if you fail big, you'll also succeed big. But if you fail small, your successes will also be small. And it's just, that's what that reminded me of. So I would 100% agree with that bit of advice.
Well, I'd also like to say that even with taking big risks and having big rewards, at times it is very plausible to go ahead and take that smaller risk, take that smaller reward, and try and move on to the next thing. So if let's just say it's something that you're really not up to at that time, whether it be physically, mentally, or anything else, it's fine to take a step back and say, I can't do this right now. And give it a try at least. But if it turns out you can't, roll with the punch, move, step up, move back, keep going, and move on.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I just add on, be grateful, and like remember, like being here is like a great opportunity. Like a lot of people wanted but don't have. But if you get here, like just remember, like this is something other people wanted that they may have not gotten. Like you're in an amazing school, in an amazing organization, that produces some of the best people that go out in the world and do like great things. But like 4 years here, like you're gonna have challenges, of course, especially freshman year. Just remember, like suffering doesn't last. But like that being said, like if you end the day every day knowing that you like made it through, like just remember, like the next day you can do it again. Like in the end, like nothing lasts forever. Anything good, anything bad. Well, and then in this case, if you think it's like that bad, like just remember it doesn't last forever. And you can always do it again the next day and just get back up and do it again. But honestly, if anyone came up to me like on campus, like yeah, sometimes when they're sometimes like seeing tour groups around, I'm like, wow, I can't believe. I remember visiting schools like last year as a senior, and it's like, wow, I'm like the college kids they're looking at while they're visiting, and like you stand out a lot wearing the uniform. So I mean, yeah, I mean, sometimes you feel like a zoo animal as they walk by, but at the same time, you have that sense of pride knowing you're doing something, and have a little more direction in your life than like a typical college student would.
The unicorn effect is very much a real thing when it comes to the core as well. And as I had said, last year towards spring semester, I was just dragging around on upper quad. I had some parents come over to me and start talking to me. I will say, by the way, if you are like dragging on upper quad and you have parents with kids come over to you to ask you questions about the core, stop dragging, stop acting like a new cadet in that specific instance. In that case, you're good, and upperclassmen who pass by will understand what you're doing when you're talking to someone like that. Because it's important that they're getting good information from someone that's not standing there like this all the time. But I think that's just common sense.
100%. I think all y'all nailed it. Y'all have the right mentality. The core is an opportunity, and it's a great opportunity to teach you. It's a learning and training like group and scenario. So I think all y'all have that great mindset, and that sometimes you gotta roll with the punches. There are challenges. Just gotta get up, do it again the next day. Perseverance is key. And that kind of goes into my next question. So what is something that was hard for you during red phase, and how did you overcome it? So I think we can start off with Cadet Tincher.
Well, I'm coming in from a little bit different background than I believe my two buds are, being prior service. But I'd say that mentally I was fairly prepared for a lot of the things, but coming in, I wasn't expecting to have to sound off and remember every single person's name that I passed by. That was probably the hardest thing for me, is being able to try and memorize that, because for me, I feel like if I see your face more than 2 or 3 times, I probably should know your name by then. And I also do very well with memorizing names out of a book to try and put it to a face without seeing them until the first time. So, but mostly it was just that for me. I came in pretty much knowing how to march. I knew how to like get my voice up, to be able to like really get some sound. And I kind of knew discipline and everything like that. And I ended up having a chance to help some of my buds during New Cadet Week, especially, and then afterwards, I still help them out, especially with Army stuff. I'll help them with packing rucks and getting things straightened away for Army stuff. But yeah, I just have a bit of a unique perspective on it, I guess.
Yeah, that's great. I also struggled with sounding off. Like, I'm a big like face to name kind of guy. Like I gotta see the face to know the name. Like usually I shake someone's hand to remember it. That's something I struggled with. I think you have a great attitude. You helped your buds, and that's really what it's for. If you're like a little bit better at your buds or something, it's your duty to help your buds out. Now on to Cadet Norsky.
So I think one of the biggest challenges of red phase was learning to accept failure and learning to learn from that failure, like turn it into something productive. I think before the core, I was very much perfectionist, and if I made a mistake or something went wrong, I would spend a lot of my time and energy thinking, woulda, shoulda, coulda, what could I have done to change that? And that's not as it's productive unless you're spiraling and thinking about it constantly. And I think coming to the core and going through red phase and having those opportunities to fail so often and learn from that failure, it kind of reconditioned my mindset to failure is a learning opportunity, not a time I screwed up, and not a time I should look down on myself or look back and think, oh, I should have done this, oh, I should have done that, and just taking it as it was something went wrong. I can learn from it. I can improve from it. Tomorrow's a brand new day, and just kind of continuing to grow in just confidence in myself and making sure that I can take that failure and turn it into a success through trial and error and repetition, and just keep tweaking it until I get it correct. So I think just learning that that failure was just a guarantee through red phase, and that learning how to process and turn that failure into something productive.
Yep, 100. Yep, we got it. So like I think me and Cadet Hamida can both tell you we made plenty of mistakes during red phase. We might not always admit it, but everyone makes mistakes. That's just how life is. And the best thing you can do in a training environment like this is take every advantage you can, because you want to fail now and not in like the field or the civilian world or wherever you're going in the future. This is a training area. So make mistakes now, learn from it so you won't make those mistakes in the future. And
Out
on
of
to Cadet Lising.
curiosity, oh, do you mind if I
Oh,
add
yeah,
something
go
to
for
that?
it. Go for it.
So, out of curiosity, have you guys ever gotten the analogy from a teacher or some advisor back in high school or something, or even your parents, about a safety net? And what I mean by that is, in elementary school, they tell you that, if you fall, you've got something that'll catch you. And then by the time middle school rolls around, all the holes between that safety net have kind of expanded. And then high school, they've expanded some more. And then college, there's almost like no more safety net after that. Out of just nod heads, shake heads. Have you heard that analogy before? Okay, no, but I've got two yeses. So now you've heard the analogy. The core adds that back in during college, just a little bit. It gives you a little bit more, like at this point, the net would be like this. It's barely there, but it still is there. And what this allows you to do as part of this organization is learn to fail as an adult, which I think there's an important distinction between failing in elementary school, middle school, high school, and then now the failures, they mean a bit more in the scheme of things, but it still isn't, it's never not recoverable, right? There's never a moment where you should just throw in the towel and say, oh, well, that's it, it's over. There's always something that you can do. And this organization tries its hardest to teach you that. And it seems as if it's working because you're picking up on it. You're picking up on what they're putting down. So it's good to see, is what I had to add.
Yep, definitely. I think you nailed it, Cadet Amick. All right. Cadet Lising, did you have something to add?
Yes. So I think the hardest part for me during Red Phase was learning to work in a new team with people from different backgrounds and different levels of motivation. So when it comes to the different backgrounds, like, okay, well, yeah, most of these people come from Nova, but like, the same time, like everyone has different experiences. Like, yeah, like what I'm not like Tincher. I don't have prior enlisted experience or prior service experience. But I have had, like I've gone to like summer camps and run by military people. That's based on like basic training. But that's no way equal to like enlisted training. But I think it is a little step up from JROTC. So like I've learned to work under the pressure and like the like working fast and just moving with urgency all the time. And then out of that, the camp I went to with the Marines, that really drove me to want to be a Marine. So that's what I'm aiming for right now. So that's my background and motivation. But as you like learn about the people around you, your TC you're working with, a lot of these people like are still figuring it out a little bit. Like people are thinking about switching branches. I think a big thing in Virginia Tech Corps Cadets that is VPI, because like it's crazy thinking people are willing to do this without like having any plans to go into the military. But yeah, so sometimes it seems like some of your buds don't put in like the most effort, but at the same time you don't understand where they're coming from and why they're here, and just know that they're figuring it out still, and just be understanding, compassionate. It was a good lesson I learned from teamwork here.
Why? Something that's very important. Why they're here and what they can contribute to your team is like crucial to any team and getting that team to succeed. And Cadet Hamid, you have a question?
I've got one more for you guys personally, and this one is sort of a personal curiosity of mine, especially in Cadet Tincher's case, because I would like to know, what is it like now having a fire team leader as opposed to having a squad leader? Because as your one up, because your squad leaders were obviously your cadre, and they're the scary juniors who yell and scream at you, versus the sophomores who Cadet Brown and I were in your position a year ago today, right? And we remember what it was like to be freshmen. So hopefully I hope there's not a lot of sophomores out there who are being mean to you guys about it because they were literally where we were a year ago. So they shouldn't be doing that anyway. But having that fire team leader, how has it been different than having a squad leader? Open question, anyone can answer.
Well, I can tell you for me, I got very lucky with my squad leader. I ended up getting a very good squad leader for my time when I was in red phase. Very understanding, but also very teaching. And so the transition wasn't too bad. It's more now that instead of being with my roommates every single time, like I still try and come down with them when I do, but I don't have to like I'm not have I don't have to be at the same onlines as them. You know, they're split off on their own teams, and you know we're separated now, so everybody still has to uphold the standard, but we're all graded differently on the standard now. So, and a lot of that comes from the different people that you're under lead with. I know that for one of my roommates, it's been a little hard for him because his fire team leader expects a lot out of him. So, I'd say it's going to be different for everybody, but I ended up lucking out fairly well, and I feel like I work well with my fire team leader. I worked well with my squad leader, and I hope this continues.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it was definitely a noticeable transition from red phase to white phase. I remember, you know, we went from having cadre who were screaming at us, and that kind of added this layer of walking on eggshells, so to speak, when you're addressing them, answering their questions, you know, because you're worried that you're gonna, you know, say something wrong or do something wrong and get yelled at. But it, it's like Cadet Brown said, you know, they were in our shoes, you know, probably like 6 months ago or something like that, and so they have more compassion to where we are, and they're also learning from this. So you know they're very understanding when you make a mistake, and you know it's a little bit less pressure having to uh, you know talk to a sophomore as opposed to a cadre. I think just from you know pure like having that fresh uh, start or change from going from someone who has been screaming at you and yelling at you for the last you know 9 weeks to someone who understands where you're coming from, understands, hey, how can I make this a little bit easier on you, or how can I make you know it a little bit smoother for you, and you know just kind of knowing that you're both growing and learning. We're learning to be followers, and they're getting their first taste of being leaders. So you know, it's been a noticeable difference. But yeah, I've really liked my my fire team leader. He's been really great. Has helped me with a lot of things. I know there's some slip ups that I've had where you know it'd be a lot of like cadre yelling at me and stuff, but he's been very understanding, saying, you know, I remember when that happened to me my freshman year. It was terrible. This is what I wish would have happened to me. So here's how I'm going to help you. So that's been really great for me personally.
Yeah, so from my experience coming into red phase after new cadet week, like I remember finding out my squad leader, and I was kind of disappointed to be honest because it was just one of the cadre I just did not like. For like no particular reason either. Like I could not offer a valid reason for why I didn't like him. I just did not like him, and I was like, I guess I'm stuck with him, um, for the next few weeks. But over time, I discovered like he is a pretty good, he's a good leader, and he earned my respect over time. So like going from like the end of like new cadet week, early red phase to like Caldwell, he had my respect, um, and I like I yeah, he just had my respect, but now that we switch it up with fire team leaders, there are some sophomore like you've seen around more than others, and I feel like those ones would be the ones are a little easier to warm up to as fire team leaders. But my fire team leader, I rarely saw him too much during red phase, like even around the UA. So like my squad leader in red phase, I am still kind of warming up to him and figuring out his leadership style and um yeah, growing to learn who he is more. Uh, and there's something I was thinking about also. Oh, that's what I'm like just remembering like they're only they're only a year or two older than us, and they're also working on their own leadership. So like, and then like it shows sometimes. It's like, oh yeah, they like my cadre or like my older brother's age. It's like, yeah, they're figuring it out still. So like it shows some like they're still figuring it out. And then when it went to fire team leaders, like it showed a little more like, yeah, they're really figuring it out still. So in no way like saying it's like they're a bad leadership, but like it's clear they just came from being the followers, like how we are right now, to stepping into a leadership position now. So I think that's really interesting seeing a different change of leadership.
If I may add one more thing, it's probably the weirdest part for me was the fact that since I'm coming in as prior service, I'm older than a lot of them. I'd say I was a few months older than my squad leader, and now I'm about a year and a half older than my fire team leader. And I believe I'm actually older than my first sergeant. So it's a bit interesting, I would say, to say the least.
And something like that also, I wouldn't say it's as extreme of a case, but I want you guys to imagine next year if you were to get fire team leader positions as well. And especially in Cadet Tincher's case, where band has a much larger group of bodies to pull from, like out of the 50 people or so that we have in Band 2-6, only 24 got fire team slot selections, which meant that over half of the sophomore class for my class didn't get an FTL slot, which means that they got shuffled into fire teams, which means that all of a sudden, over the course of a single night, when you learned what the fire team selections were, you went from being one-on-one at the same level as the rest of your buds to all of a sudden there was now a bit of an authority gap. And that's just going to be something that you have to learn to deal with, even if you are the same age. I can't imagine in Cadet Tincher's case, though, that feeling of being older than your first sergeant as well, which I know is a bit weird. But consider the fact that when you get into your officer, when you commission as an officer, right? As a second lieutenant, ensign, whatever it may be, you'll likely be a lot younger than a lot of your NCOs, and you are still higher ranking. They defer to your authority. So it's good practice is where I'm going with that, and a good thing to experience on this side of things, because then you'll know what it feels like on the other side, if that makes sense. There was a point in there somewhere, and I think it was good.
Yeah, I'd like to also add, I feel like definitely Cadet Lising and Cadet Norsky like really hit it. As FTLs, we want y'all to succeed. We want y'all to be the best freshmen we could make y'all. Like we want y'all to be awesome.
It's a bit competitive, actually.
Oh,
Right?
it definitely.
Like all the FTLs kind of want to be like, my freshman did this,
Yeah,
or this,
definitely.
or this.
Yeah, we take a lot, like it's definitely a leadership experience too. So we'll make mistakes and y'all will make mistakes, and we understand that. And as an FTL, I definitely speak that when my fire team kids, when they like mess up, if it's something for the first time, I'm not super like, I'll just be like, hey, you need to fix that. But if it's a recurrent thing, I'll definitely ask like, what's going on? Like, why is this still happening? Like, we understand that y'all are students and that we were in your shoes not too long ago. So we expect to show we're a little more relaxed, but we still need to enforce the standards. So if you work with us, we'll work with you. That's something I think all y'all really touched on. Did great. And I think we have gone a little bit over, so I don't want to take up too
For
much
the
more y'all's
first time ever.
I know,
That's
man.
crazy.
But yeah, I'd like to say I really appreciate all three of y'all coming on here. You've definitely shown to your cadre and to us that you're high speed cadets. And I really like to thank y'all for coming on the podcast today. Anything like you'd like to add, Cadet Hominick?
Again, a word of thanks to all of you. We hope to do this again at the end of blue phase after Caldwell II, because that's what Cadet Brown and I did, and that's sort of also how we got roped into doing this podcast. No regrets though on that.
Yeah, definitely not.
But the time that you guys took out of your day to help with this, it shows, and it's good for both the battalion and your companies. You guys have represented your respective companies well today, and we appreciate that. That's all I've got for you.
All right. Well, thank y'all again.